So it's no big secret that I was somewhat critical of Sony when they announced that the DualShock 4 controller would not function on the PlayStation 5 unless you were playing a PlayStation 4 title. I pretty much just postulated or assumed that it was because Sony just wants you to buy a new DualSense controller, and that unless there were some features in the DualSense controller that made it necessary to have, that's probably all it was. Probably just a cash grab. Well, I think we finally have a cool little nugget that makes the DualSense controller pretty awesome. Over on PlayStation blog, there's a post with a quote from, man, I'm going to butcher this name, Dinga Bakaba. Please forgive me for that. The director for the upcoming title, Deathloop. I'm really excited by the adaptive triggers and haptic feedback, both features that will bring some physicality in game experiences and give important feedback. Deathloop being a first-person shooter, we do a lot of things to make weapons feel differently from one another. One I like is blocking the triggers when your weapon jams to give the players an immediate feedback even before the animation plays out, which prompts the player in a physical way that they have to unjam their gun. So apparently in Deathloop, your gun can jam, and when that happens, you won't be able to pull the triggers on the DualSense controller. It will be jammed. I got a lot of questions about this. I mean, how is it possible for someone to just crank that thing? Are they going to break their controller? How well made is this? Hopefully people are smart enough to realize, I can't, there's resistance there. I need to press another button to unjam the gun. But this is actually pretty cool, and I think it's not super difficult to think of other ways where this sort of ability to change the resistance of the controllers or even totally jam the triggers might come in handy. In other games, they talk about using the adaptive resistance in the controllers to simulate or create a sensation of recoil. Imagine a scenario where you're playing a game like the upcoming Horizon and you swing your weapon, it makes contact with an enemy, and there's resistance in a way that shows you in a physical way that you've made contact with an enemy. Maybe it'll even be sensitive enough to show you kind of what that enemy feels like when you make contact with it. A lot of this does remind me of some of the HD Rumble stuff that was in the Nintendo Switch's Joy-Cons, which approximately no one used at all. But some of the stuff in this blog post seems like they're really pushing this further. A lot of developers, at least the first-party developers and the developers working closely with Sony, are taking advantage of these features, and some of these ideas for how they're going to use it are really cool. Marcus Smith, creative director at Insomniac, said the adaptive triggers are something we're excited to feature in Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. For instance, the Enforcer is a double-barreled shotgun type weapon. As you pull the trigger, you'll fire from one barrel, and you can feel resistance about halfway down the trigger. Need a bigger blast? Pull the trigger through that resistance point, and you'll fire both barrels at the same time. If they can execute on this well, that could be really, really cool. You have a scenario where they're using almost as if you have 4 triggers instead of just the 2, and then the bumpers up top. This is actually pretty cool, guys. I'd love to know what you guys think about this in the comments below. Does this make it feel better that you can't use your DualShock controllers to play PS5 games? Does it make sense to you? I think I'm coming around on it a little bit. I'd love to know what you guys think. So I'll see you on the next video, and until next time, stay nerdy, my friends. If you enjoy my content, please consider becoming a Scary If Literal member. You'll get access to a whole bunch of emoticons to use with live streams and a shout out on an upcoming video. Thanks as always for your continued support.